It's a deliberate kind of lack of humanity
It's a
that
lack
we're
of
seeing.
humanity, exactly. And you know what? I wanna say this too. It's a lack of humanity across the board, and this includes the Arab nations, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see Saudi Arabia coming to the rescue of their fellow Palestinians. I don't see Jordan and Egypt, the countries that border Israel, coming to the rescue of their fellow Palestinians. Even Iran, Iraq, all these Muslim countries, I don't see any of them doing much of anything to really stop people. I also don't see Xi Jinping in China really doing anything. I don't see Putin really doing anything. It's just, if you really like step up to 30,000 feet and look down, and you and I have no skin in this game. You know what I mean? We're not anything. We're just human beings looking at it. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what are they doing? What are we even looking at? It's crazy. And they're all guilty. This is one thing I've recently tried to start helping people understand is don't say I'm a anything sympathizer, because I'm calling out everybody, the same way you and Maddie did on Burn Pit. All right, let's do this. God, we can talk about that forever. Is there
Well,
is
can I compliment you real quick?
sure.
You're 100% right. The Arab world over there has become silent. And you're right to call them out. You're right to call out Israel and Jews for any support that they may have, American citizens for any support they may have of what's going on over there, and the whole world. Xi Jinping, China, Russia. I have to give you credit there. You're calling out everybody across the board here. And recently, I see the Prime Minister of France recognize Palestine as a
Yeah.
state, or Canada too, and
Yep.
Germany.
Yep.
That's great, but what is that really doing?
Right.
That's great.
Exactly.
It's not doing anything. You're not, I mean, it's not fixing the problem. No one's saying, "Hey, look, we're going to come in with troops and we're going to open up some sort of pipeline here where we can feed these people, or we can get them aid, or we can get them the help they need." Nobody's offering any type of solution like that. So, anyways, I just wanted to compliment you and
Well,
say
I
you're
I
right to call out
I
everybody.
appreciate that, man. And honestly, one of the millions of reasons I wanted to have you on and have you and I do an episode together is, I also want people to, if they're not looking at you, again, I described you earlier and I'll describe you again. Here is a white American dude. He's got no skin in this. And who, by the way, grew up super evangelical Christian. And I know you're still Christian. You still have your Christian faith and all that. Maybe your faith has changed a little over the years and you can explain that. But my point is, I love people like you because regular Americans, they can't poke a hole in this. They could look at me, and this is real talk. They could look at me and be like, what is this guy? He looks foreign. Of course he's going to support that side. But like when you're doing it, you can't play that card. You can't play the race card against the Palestinian people. You're supporting the Palestinian people, not because you have any skin in Palestinian people. They're human beings and you're supporting humanity. And to me, I give you so much credit, man. It's like it just hits so much harder coming from you in a good way. And then that's where I can't understand people that call themselves Christians and they're not speaking up about it. Guys like Patrick Bet David, whom I like so many things he talks about, but I'm like, dude, you're a coward. You're supposedly this big Christian, Assyrian, Armenian, whatever he is, born in Iran. And like, not one time have you had the guts to stand up for the Palestinian people. The most you do is enable your guy Vinny to talk shit on Adam. That's the most he does. It's like, it's crazy, man. That sense of humanity is just lost with some people.
I agree, and I'll say this: I'm with you on Patrick Bet David. I think he's a very talented guy. He's built himself quite a platform, and he did the one interview with Dan Bilzerian, and that kind of pushed the limits a bit, where he let Dan talk. And after that, I haven't really heard much about him. And he won't go into things. He won't really criticize Netanyahu. He won't criticize Israel. He won't speak up for the Palestinians. So we've talked about this. I'll give a little window into kind of the background of you and I a little bit. Is A few months ago, you gave me a phone call. We were probably on the phone for like 40 minutes and we had a conversation. It was really good. You gave me a little mentorship, you gave me a little advice, and I'll keep that private between you and I. But we did talk about kind of the parameters that you're allowed to speak about. There's things that you're allowed to speak, and if you take it outside what too far one way or the other, those parameters, you're going to be silenced. And you have to operate inside this game if you want to play the game, and you want to have like any kind of foot in this, where whatever you want to call it, in this sphere that we're in of trying to influence people and trying to spread a word. And I think Patrick Bet David knows that very well.
Yeah. Yes.
He's making a lot of money from what he does. He has written different books that Choose Your Enemies Wisely was one of them that I actually bought and I read. And I thought he's doesn't want to rock the wrong boat and get the backlash that you see people get.
Yeah.
So you call it cowardice? I agree with you. I think it is a little cowardice that he won't speak up, especially when you have this atrocity going on. But there's a lot of them that won't, and there's a lot of them that gatekeep.
Yeah.
They'll touch on the APAC thing, like Tucker and Ted Cruz. You saw that interview where we'll talk about APAC, but they won't go further than
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'll tell you, I want to get your opinion on this. I have thought very highly of Tucker. I've thought very highly of Candace Owens. Those are two people that have really spearheaded so much. And again, I will give them their due on all of that. But then recently, and I know you saw this, they started attacking Nick Fuentes, this kid, Nick Fuentes, who's 26 years old. And honestly, in my opinion, potentially the clearest and most strategic and intelligent voice when it comes to geopolitics, especially around this issue on Israel. And then also in terms of Trump and MAGA and the true meaning of America first. I think Nick Fuentes is as talented a speaker at the age of 26 as Barack Obama was in his prime. And again, I've got a lot of issues with Obama, but I've always given the dude his due when it comes to public speaking. He was an unbelievable orator, and I think Nick is that as well. I lost a little bit of respect for both Candace and Tucker when they went after Nick, and it made me realize, hey, you know what? Everybody's capable of everything. What are your thoughts on those three or that situation or what I just said?
I think your observations are very astute. I think you're right on the money. As professionals, I think Tucker and Candace Owens, you can't deny their talent. But I think Nick is a generational talent, and I've seen posts that you've made on Deep Shallow Dive on Instagram and on TikTok, where you kind of I've shared the same type of mentality, which is regardless of what you think of the kid and things he said and where he stands, you think he's a Nazi, you think he's a white nationalist. When he breaks down geopolitics, and even Tucker acknowledged that. Tucker even said, "What a talent this guy is. This guy can go and talk to a camera by himself for 3 hours and just riff. That's a talent.
That is a
It's
talent.
hard.
That is hard.
It's hard to do."
Yep.
And the guy does it, and he doesn't, you don't hear a or a, it's just, he flows and he goes, and he has a sense of humor about him. I grew up a Rush Limbaugh baby. My dad used to listen to Rush Limbaugh, who was boomer, neoconservative, chai comms, all of that. But Rush could go,
Yeah.
and Rush could do a 3 hour show, and he would say things and unabashed and unafraid, and he would make comments that were controversial. And Nick's kind of like a young Rush Limbaugh, but you know, he's definitely influencing a lot of people,
He
and
is.
I think that
He is.
that is what is concerning to people like Candace and Tucker, because those guys won't touch the topics that Nick will.
Yeah.
And when you saw the interview with Nick and Candace, I thought Nick came off looking better than she did.
Absolutely, absolutely. She actually came off basic. She literally came off basic. It was clear it was a complete hit job, literally from the opening mic. Like she literally opened up and was in attack mode. She wanted to discredit him. And more than anything, I think she wanted to distance herself from him. And then she doubled down on it in the episode where she did with Tucker Carlson. They both wanted to distance themselves from Nick for some of the reasons maybe that you brought up. But you know what, man? It's pretty interesting. People are smarter than these guys give them credit for, because it was very obvious and they got cooked on social media. They absolutely got cooked. And you know what's funny? I'll admit this. It's affected a little bit my desire to take in their content. I really have not listened to Tucker and Candace as religiously as I did before that Nick stuff. That's pretty funny, man. Gosh.
I agree with.
This episode was brought to you by Zippix Nicotine Toothpicks. Zip more, smoke less. Totally satisfying, discreet, and delicious. Zippix nicotine-infused toothpicks are available in 6 great flavors, each containing at least 2 milligrams of nicotine to curb those cravings. Zippix is FDA registered and proudly made in the USA. Use discount code DSD for 10% off your order at zippixtoothpicks.com. Zip more, smoke less, save 10%.